Hey, what's up, everybody? We kind of dealing with what's about to take place, I think tomorrow. So, being that they're going to they're about to select the person that they already elected. They're going to go through the ceremonial, uh, purely ceremonial, impotent gesture of getting people to cast a ballot. The word cast means to entrap, but it could also mean to throw away, like when you cast your pearls to swine. So when you're dealing with stuff like that, you're dealing with the fact that we're in a precarious position, while at the same time opening up a new space for everything to kind of be perceived as what it exactly is. You know what I mean? Because everything that is based on a historical aspect that we have not taken full advantage of, due to the fact that due to the fact that lack of a nationality has created a predatory nature when it comes to the cultural appropriation of so-called black people who perceive themselves as black. So what that does is that creates now a standard causality. So the causality of this whole thing is based on what people have perceived to be slavery, right? Because everything is somewhat juxtaposition between what was done, what is being done, and what possibly can be done. But everybody that's suggesting something to do is suggesting it based upon what their agenda to prolong that is, based upon their perception of what they think they are. So everything then everything then is based upon people's own individual identities contributing to what it is they pay into to collectively represent themselves. So when you talk about people who call themselves Italian, they are collectively represented as the Italian community. When you're talking about people who perceive themselves as Jewish, they are collectively perceived as the Jewish community. When you say the so-called black community now, right? The first thing that all these other people in communities that I've mentioned come to mind is what has been marketed to them, what a black community is. But what a black community is aberration, a creature of law created to marginalize and sectionalize a certain people based upon an economic and physio-geographical position. So what that does is that collectively the people within that marginalization have to somehow dive through all of what everybody else thinks they are, right? Then they gotta settle on what they think they are, right? But it's still not based upon something that they themselves have actively gone out to pursue. They have pursued this as a reaction, right? As a backlash to what they know that they are consciously perceived as. So you could have like I said, you could have a BA from Harvard, you could be a billionaire over all that. If one day you go in Fendi and there happen to be a racist person in that store, they're going to tell you and remind you that no matter how much money you got, they've created a perpetual system, right, to continuously force you to have to prove what you are. So what they could walk to, we gotta fly to. You understand what I'm saying? So because these people have assumed the institutional trust that we call the United States of America, right? What we're talking about when we talk about that now is the marginalization of all of this based upon the caste system of what people perceive as white supremacy. But white supremacy, you gotta understand, quote unquote white people in America only represent 64%, right, of the population. That seems like a lot, right? But of that 64% of people labeled as white, only 31% of those people are actually what we would perceive as Caucasoid white. The word Caucasian is not even a word that comes from English. That's actually an Algonquin word that comes from the word Koka'asu, which means elder and wise one, and one who was put before to lead. So these people, when we look back on the ethnographic information based upon all of the the useless eugenics-based history, false identity history that was given to all of the people who were colonized by the people who would be perceived as white today. And they have gone through a generational disconnect of what they used to be prior to 1492 and what we are based on what happened in 1492. But all we know about 1492 is Columbus came, and there was a lot of murder and death. So because they've created a way where they can gloss over huge tracts of history, right, to get to the part where it's always about you. It's always about you being a slave. It's always about you never having enough. It's always about you pulling yourself out of your bootstraps. It's all about you being in jail. It's all about you being a criminal. It's all about you not being able to be there for your children. But then when we do the statistical analysis on that, about how black men don't raise their children, it's actually the opposite. When you check the Cornell University study, it said that 64%,
the same 64.
The same 64,
right?
64% of black men are actually there, and out of all the racial groups, they're the most consistently on deck with their children. All of that. So what happens is it creates a situation where you are now in a position where you have to choose between a woman who comes from a dynasty, who erected a dynasty of school to prison pipeline, of labeling black males as super predators, allowing her own constituency based on her negligence to be killed, slaughtered in places that they set wars up to go get money and oil and marginalize other people, to the point where as soon as you hear the term Arab, you think terrorists. Who did that? I didn't create that. Why is it when we think of, look at it like this, like some people, when they identify with something, they assume what that thing is, but you could assume something all day, but it doesn't mean that that's what you are. So just because you are born on the land on the United States doesn't make you an American. What makes you an American is being foreign to the United States. Look at that.
According to what?
According to the law, because the United States, under the Trading with the Enemy Act, right, was put under a perpetual emergency management situation where every president that comes in has to re-sign it into law. So they've already made the United States a battleground. They've already taken the journalistic society, CNN, Fox, and them. They already took the FTC and these people to court to get the right to promote false stories under what they call yellow journalism, which is why when we talk about Sandy Hook, nobody goes to jail for that, because they came out later that never happened, that it was all fake. There's actually pictures of Steven Spielberg directing the people at the Boston so-called bombing, explosion, and marathon stuff. So what I'm saying is that being that we're all in this theater, they created the grand theater for you to now participate in, that is going to be you voting for your own destruction. It's going to be you basically being tallied up to choose between devil number one, devil number two. So the solution, but here go the funny thing. There's actually 5 different people running for president right now. How come you only hear about 2? There's people right now. There's people who once the president actually gets elected, of the United States gets elected, there's a disconnect between the time he's elected and the inauguration. There's a month. It's 30 days. You know why? Because in that 30-day period, someone from the Republic is supposed to step up and send them notice that the Republic aspect of the government has reestablished itself, right? And now their subordinate United States, privately, now their subordinate public United States now has to fall under the jurisdiction of whatever the constitutional 1787 Republic deems necessary. But a republic, right, is a representative form of government, which is just because you don't want to have one person that represents this group and then have that person be the only one to dominate everybody. You want to have everybody to have a representative. But that representative has to be accountable for the person who's representing the group. But these people are all a part of organizations called ALEC or ISDS, which are all of these fake white male, right, Knights of Columbus, Knights of Pythias, pseudo Prince Hall, right? Sorry, black people, Prince Hall, all of these little Jack and Jill, all of these people pay into this little fund where all of these white men can go to
Very
hotels and make legislation outside of the people's view, and then bring the private legislation based on them being paid privately to come into the public venue and make that a law to repress and shoot you and kill you. Is that right? No. Is
So you
Trump going to
also
change
officially
that?
made the delineation that there's something publicly taking place
Yes.
and privately.
Thank you. There has to be you have to exist here. On your money, there's two seals for a reason. One represents the private, that's the pyramid. One represents the public,
So why
that's
is
the
it
eagle.
that so much with nationality gets misconstrued with religious dogma? Because so many think that because, you know, even this, you know, what I've noticed is that even in creating, I remember when you started wearing your, you know, your
Yeah,
tarbush
nobody
and
was
your
on it like
sultan.
this.
But it's to say that what's wonderful about that is it opened a gateway for those that didn't feel permissible to do so, to do so. So
And
what I
that's
would
why
like
we
to
do
say to
things.
you
Thank you.
is saludos
Thank
for
you.
having the courage and the
Salamati.
strength
Thank
to
you.
think and moving forward in that as well. Why is there a misconception? We can't even say why, because why goes back to sometimes people just stay focused right
I
now.
am.
People, you know, that's what people are here to do, is to cause distractions sometimes,
Exactly.
and that was what was taking place behind us.
Yeah.
But it's a great moment because the helicopter went by and it's all
And
good.
it gives me a chance to get some more nice tidbits for you guys to
Right.
acknowledge.
Absolutely.
There is,
so I was
there
just
is,
wondering, have you noticed that to be something that's
Yes.
and how and not
Why?
feeling as though you need to prove, but what's been great is just through action and through diligence of consistent work, a lot of times less becomes more. So in doing such,
Thank you.
you know, in doing such, and in actually what I've witnessed is what we talked about years ago, where there was no vessel or no nothing that was created by our elders that would connect us to this
Well, I will go
you know,
to,
this gateway, or
to add on to what you're saying. I will go to say that it wasn't so much it wasn't created, it wasn't passed down formally the way that it was supposed to, because there was a lot of things like fraternal organizations and the
Absolutely.
corporatization and the weaponization of knowledge to be used by people to set themselves up in these shrinedoms that allowed them to now govern over the people, like you see Daddy Rich in Car Wash, or you see these so-called Boule influenced people who act like they're here for the preservation and the upward movement of black people, when they're really just about their continuous domestication and subjugation based upon them not wanting to stand in the place that they have sworn a secret to protect. The secret being that we were always here, that our ancestors are the Almanacanos Estados, the free Moorish estates, that we are, and everybody else in the world know about the Al-Maghreb Al-Aqsa, the Morocco of the farthest west. We know that we're in an empire. We know that we have a prophet. But what we see as ecclesiastical, which are divine creeds, tenets, customs, right? Customary laws passed down from generation to generation like we supposed to have, right?
have been reduced.
Black people have taken that and misconstrued that as a religion because that's what their white master has told them it is. So because he
Bomb.
say that that's Egyptology is a pseudo-science or pseudo-religion, there are certain black people who go to his school who will believe that, which will forever keep them away from the essence of what's in them. Meanwhile, the same Caucasian telling them that is going dressing up like that in rituals, right? Writing books and making movies where he's the god of Egypt. But what are you? You the butler. You the 12 years a slave. When he's dressing up like Argenton and Cleopatra and in Gladiator, the Spaniard. This is all about us. So what we're dealing with is the constant, perpetual, generational identity theft that continuously happens, and that a lot of our people openly participate in.
Displacement.
They want
Isn't
to.
it
They
beautiful,
want to
though?
participate in it.
But it
They
has
don't
to
mind.
be for a reason, and that's why you have to not only be aware of it, but go, this is going to eventually work towards our benefit.
I was watching the movie
The
X-Men
benefit
Apocalypse.
of the creator of the Most High.
Islam. I'm watching the X-Men Apocalypse movie, and Apocalypse is there talking to Storm in Egypt, and she talking about how she got to follow the law and do all of this, and he look at her in his Moorish burnous, right? Blue black, looking at her and said, why would you want to be a slave when you are a goddess, right? So I'm thinking that to myself when I look at people like Venus Williams who will eat, Serena Williams, who will eat dog food. You know how much money this woman got? You eating dog food?
Well, the
This is
level-
how you want these people to see you? You
Oh,
don't
yeah.
even care.
Oh no,
But see, what they don't remember,
that's how you know
what
she
they
don't
know.
have class around her.
Let's take it to something more current. Look at everybody upset at Lil
Honestly.
Wayne. Why is everybody upset about somebody who has been, since he has been a child, molested, raped, put in positions to be broken down
It's
as a
not funny.
man? It's not funny.
But because
It's real.
these pedestals.
But because he rap good and because he can
He's got a
tattoo and
political
threaten a
opinion.
nigga and drink lean, he got a whole generation
You
of
don't have no political
children.
opinion.
Think of what I'm saying. You got a whole generation of children addicted to Robitussin now, as they heard it in the damn Lil Wayne song. That's not his fault, because he got hooked onto the shit from somebody
Those
else.
are their parents' faults.
This is
and
what
the
I'm talking
influence
about
that
in
they're
terms of the
around.
black leadership, the black community. This is why I don't
It's
give
a
a damn
ruse.
about them. When you out here, black power, all of this shit, what are you doing in your community on the street to get people to be seen as something else other than a goddamn slave? You know what slaves do? Slaves march. Slaves walk around with slogans, throwing their hands in the air when you're supposed to be taking that hand and putting it in somebody's face. That's what you're supposed to be doing. But again,
Or creating a document.
or creating a document or an ecclesiastical government that allows you to function outside of their system. And all you gotta have is a nationality to do it. Why you think you ain't never seen no Sikh in jail? Why you ain't never think you don't see no Palestinian in jail? Why you in American jail? Why you don't think you don't never see no Chinese or no Indian
Hasidic.
person or no Hasidic person in jail? Only people you see in jail is who? Blacks, whites, Mexicans. That's it. Chinese got their own section of jail because they people don't go to jail. Because you know why? Because every one of them Chinese gangsters is an agent of the damn Chinese government, and the United States know, and they can't do shit about it. Because China done
Money.
already said if you invade Syria past a certain parallel, we going to war, buddy.
But then the blacks here are telling you to get financial advisors.
Yeah, they want you
and
to get
invest so that
yeah,
you
they
can
want you to go to the
understand how
same
to have-
Jewish person
how to-
that's already taken 10% of your essence, your actual life. There's actual documentation. I grew up in Crown Heights, so nobody can tell me nothing about the Setmar community or the Lubavitch community because I live right between both of them. So I've seen them bang on each other. I've seen how they get down. That's some Crip and Blood shit with Jews, but you'll never know that.
Collectively, they come together
You'll
to
never
keep
know that.
us out and to keep
Because they
them
control
in.
the media in their society, and that's what
Absolutely.
they're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
People getting mad at these people for the oppression when really we're at the point now where the rubber done met the road. All the karma on us is done. So if you want to still actively participate in it, if
Oh,
you
it's there.
actively want to become a police officer, if you actively want to do that, then you are
There's
taking your
over
own
30
soul.
different choices. There's so many options to play yourself.
You taking
There's
your
only
own
one or two to be
destiny
your
in
own.
your hands.
Because to live your own means you might not have someone to the left or the right to co-sign what you're doing.
Look at this.
People would rather do something in a whole boatload of muckus
Look at
than
this.
get out and do it on their own.
This whole war, this whole election right now is based on the war that's been going on. And the war that's going on is really between three companies. It's Genie Oil, right? It's Merck, and then it's this other joint they got called, what is this called? It's called, it's Merca, Genie Oil. Merca is Russian. Genie Oil is funded by the Friends for the People of Syria. You know who that is? That's Lord Rothschild, Cheney, Bush, and members of the Saudi Arabian, Turkey, Qatar, and Egyptian government. They are all the group of friends of the Syrian people. These are the people that's been trying to pump this pipeline since the first Gulf, since when they was calling that thing the Persian Gulf. Remember that? That's back in the late 80s, 90s. That's when it's Persian Gulf. Before that, then it became the Middle East. Now it's the what do they call it now? The bullshit. Anyway, the group of friends of Syria, they've been trying to create this pipeline that the connecting point has to go through Syria and Iran. That's the linchpin. That's why it's so necessary for Iran to be under sanctions and all this and that. They done released the sanctions to Iran. They done all of this. While this is happening now, Zimbabwe is now about to make the UN its own national currency, which now formally cements China in Africa, which is basically going to be the beachhead for these people now, the Chinese now, to when the white men go, they become the new one that we got to deal with. But the difference with them is they actually about forgiving debt. They forgive the debt, and they actually pay for the infrastructure. All they want is their own little community where they allowed to be Afro-Chinese or
Sounds
whatever that
interesting,
is.
right?
Whatever. What's his name with it? Excuse me, sir.
I'm gonna think.
What's his name is with it? But in that, that's how it go.
Let's rizzy
As we wrap it all and put it in a nice big
Tomorrow,
bow.
where are you gonna be?
Oh,
You're
we're gonna be in
traveling to
Arizona.
Arizona, no?
Yeah, we're gonna be in Arizona, man. So we're
You're
gonna do a
traveling to
joint
AZ?
from there. I'm gonna do one from there, inshallah, from one of the mesas, and we're gonna get into
One of the Masons. What'd you say?
one of the mesas.
I know it was
Gotta
a,
be
hey,
specific. Good.
Hey,
Call me out, because you gotta know.
Hey.
Because I gotta make it clear. At one of the mesas, inshallah. Big up to the Moors that's hosting me out there. It's gonna be dope. I'm gonna send some pictures and stuff. But if you need any more,
is more valuable sometimes than public, no?
inshallah.
Absolutely.
Inshallah.
Take it easy.
So hit me.
houseofl@hotmail.com.
Yes, indeed.
And try to bring you more.
Be
each
yourself. Vote for yourself. Elect yourself.
day. And don't compromise your
Don't
soul.
compromise your soul. Be who you need to be.
Or compromise it, because there's
Do
money
what
out
you
there for
want to
you to
do,
get.
but don't do it based on what you think somebody else going to do or going to think about it. Do you.
Ashe.